to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffen. Joining me today is not Blake Harrison and it's not Scroobius Pit. It's the fourth member of our little crew. It's Mr. Bryan Lacey. Hello.
Hello, mate. And I listen, we're going to get positive. I want to be positive with you, but you did just call me the fourth member of the group. And I feel like that a little bit sometimes because I've heard rumors that you guys are meeting up in London and tie-dye
like this. Come on.
I've heard about it. I've heard you got your little Sunday group. You get your old tap out of the Affliction t-shirts, re-tie-dyed. And I want in, all right? I want in.
All right. This episode, this could be the decisive factor whether you make the A-list, mate, all right?
All right, I'm up. I'm in.
Look, you are A-list in Octagon MMA. I mean, tell us a little bit because since the last time you come on this show, you've kind of really sort of got your teeth into Octagon. Tell us a little bit about what's happening there. Tell us about anything that you've been up to in the realms of Octagon.
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy journey. Last 12 months in particular, we've done 2 stadium shows. So we did one in Prague, which was 28,000 people, and then we went to the Eintracht Stadium in Frankfurt, 58,000 people. Which for me, especially as a commentator, just you know, in your career, was one of the highlights of all time. Just feeling that energy, seeing people come together for that, and it's one of these things. I think people are still, you know, discovering what Octagon are. We're putting on big shows. We just sold out Dortmund, 15,000 fans last week. We sold out Dusseldorf at the start of the year. Czech Republic, we do 20,000 seat arenas regularly. But now, you know, people are slowly but surely sort of opening their eyes to what the promotion is, how good it is, and wondering why they're doing what we're doing, which is, you know, selling out events and putting on great fights. So outside of that, though, we got people chasing each other out of the cage, though, which happened this weekend. I don't know if you saw that. Max Holzer beat Dennis Ilbai, rear naked, choked him, gave him a little thrust to the butt, and Ilbai didn't take nicely to that. Chased him out the cage, and then it's been all over social media. But it was mayhem, mate.
Fantastic. And am I right in saying you was out there with Lone'er Kavanagh?
The one and only Lerone Kavanagh, mate. And listen, he's a badass himself. But when that all kicked off, he was kind of his eyes open because it was there, like I said, 15,000 people, and it went absolutely off when that happened. But he was great, and I mean that was the first time I've seen him since his UFC fight, since him and Nathaniel went, you know, and got the brace of wins at UFC London. What a kid! Like, and I say that with all respect, using that word "kid," because I remember Rise of Champions, Brad's promotion from a few years ago. I commentated.
Give that a bit of context. You and Brad are sort of, you know, best buds, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Brad Pickett will forever be a honorary member of the Lacey's. Yes, we've been working together. Known each other for years, and he was doing his promotion, which was sort of Rise of Champions, building up young amateurs coming up and through. And I was commentating with Nathaniel, and we all know how good Nathaniel is, and we all know where he sits in Brad's eyes. But Brad made a point of coming round to me, tapping me on the shoulder, and went, "Watch this kid." And I'd never heard of him, couldn't pronounce his name, Lone'er Kavanagh. And he came out and he absolutely, you know, does what he's doing now and just put on this dominant performance, gritty. He's got this young, good-looking kid, and he did what he did in UFC London, just pieced this guy apart. And I was really proud of him, and to see him after that and to see where he is now is something special.
Yeah, I think he's a superstar in the making, that boy.
Now, when you look at the UK scene, and we're all waiting for the next, I mean, we're all wondering what's going to be next for Leon Edwards. Arnold is still in and amongst the mix. We've still got great fighters there, but that, I mean, even Nathaniel, that performance he put on last time, but I think Lonnie could be the complete package. He talks really well, he fights great, he's got, you know, dual heritage with China as well, so he crosses over continents as far as fan bases, and he can fight, he can truly fight. So yeah, I'm excited for him.
Absolutely. Whilst talking sort of British fighters, and do you know what, this thing I wanted to ask you here, and by all means, if there's any discussions going on, tell me to shut up, and you know you can't talk about it. But you know, one of the other UK fighters that was getting so much attention was Muhammad Mokaev, who is now no longer obviously with the UFC. You know, didn't sound like he was flavour of the month with the, you know, the people that make the decisions over there. And and an unbeaten fighter with a lot of attention on him. Have you got the weight classes in Octagon to entertain Muhammad Mokaev?
Listen, yeah, we got 125. We've got Zhumagulov, the Kazakhstan fighter. He's fighting for the belt next against Beno Ademir. I mean, I've known Makaev for years. He's another one of these guys that when I was doing the amateur scene, coming up, those shows like Tanko, which Carl Prince put on, Makaev came up and through. I knew when he was sort of 15, 16 years old, he was manhandling these fully grown men. I was also with Dean Garnett, who was his head coach, alongside KHK. He was out at Octagon this weekend, and we were talking about this situation. And I think there's stuff that comes with him, and again, it's that you can describe it in however many ways you want. I think that some people call it arrogance. There's that vigor of youth. There's that belief. I have never had anything but good interactions with Makaev. I mean, his background, the journey he's come on, but the UFC, something's grated there. Something outside of the cage has definitely gone up against them. So I think it's on him now, and wherever he goes, I know he's at Brave at the minute. He's having a karate combat fight. I think he wants to display some striking. And the Dean Garnett said to me, please don't go for a takedown. Please, not in karate combat. So I think he's going to try and do everything he can. And Pip said it last time, keep winning fights.
Yeah.
Fight and keep winning those fights. One of the interesting things that Dean Garnett said to me, and I don't think he'll mind me repeating it, he said, I think the UFC would almost take him back quicker if he had an exciting fight and lost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
If he was to just put on a gritty, dominant performance. I mean, taking someone down 28 times in the fight is impressive. But the UFC have always looked for more than that. And Dean was like, if he got that, if he had that loss and it was exciting, that would show the UFC that he's not a safe player. But I think as he gets older, he just needs to fight. I think he just needs to, wherever he can get those, whether it's Octagon, whether it's Brave, whether it's Rising, whether it's karate combat, get out there, keep competing, stay respectful, and I think that call will come back because that division needs it. I think you and Pitt were talking about it last week, and there's so limited options. You were even talking about DJ coming back and making it somehow exciting, which says a lot about what that division needs. So I think Makaev just got to do what he does. I like him a lot. I think we don't know the whole story about what's happened outside, but for me, just have fights, just win, and show them what you're about.
Okay. Someone that he's fighting and winning is Lerone Murphy. We saw him last weekend. I thought put on a masterclass against Josh Emmett. Like, how did you view that fight, Brian?
Who takes fights against Josh Emmett, first of all? Like, he is one of the scariest guys, consistently one of the scariest guys.
Yeah. Bryce Mitchell was a very open-minded left-wing before he fought Josh Emmett. Like, that is the power.
There was no witch in sight. There was not a witch in sight prior to that knockout. That's it. Oh my God. He
found God that night.
Yeah, honestly, he found God and God returned him to us. That says what God thinks about him. Jesus Christ. No pun intended. But look, I mean, first of all, I thought, like you said, I thought it was a masterclass from Lerone Murphy. I thought the performance was great. I thought there was moments where he got caught. He handled it really well. Getting up from Emmett, like getting up from the takedowns from Emmett consistently against the cage, doing everything technically right to avoid that. And this is one factor that people haven't talked about. The Apex, please make it end soon, but the Apex is a smaller cage. The real estate in that for you to avoid the fight with a man like Josh Emmett. I mean, we saw it against, what was it, Ngannou versus Stipe.
Yeah.
That was it. They could basically touch gloves from either side of the cage, and that gave Stipe zero chance in that fight, I think. It's a factor. That real estate matters for a fighter like Lerone Murphy. For him to find space, for him to cause damage, for him to avoid takedowns, for him to do it for 25 minutes. Because again, I was at the fights at the weekend, and obviously you start talking about the other fights, and I was with Aaron Abios, with Dean Garnett, and they all know and they've trained with Lerone Murphy. And that was the thing. How do you avoid the power for 25 minutes? I thought he put on a clinic. I thought his corner was fantastic. I think Carl Prince's an outstanding coach. And, you know, I think him and Lerone have really, they've gone through the journey together. They really know each other. And it was the last round, I think the sentence that Carl Prince says, give me 5 rounds of responsibility. Look at the language there. And
Yeah.
that is exactly, he knew exactly what's on the line, that it's not over. You got 5 minutes and not of aggression, not defense, not responsibility. And then you watch that 5 minutes. His defense, his guard is up, his footwork's great. He picks his shots. He drops Josh Emmett with that left hand,
Yeah.
and he doesn't get greedy. He doesn't chase him down because you can get caught in those situations. He was responsible throughout that 25 minutes, and he's undeniable in this division now. Give him that top 5, give him the top 3, even give him top 6. Ortega, let's have him against somebody like that. But for me, it was it's one of those things that because I think it's in the apex, he didn't get the response because he didn't get finished. People are on that, but I thought it was a world-class performance.
Absolutely. And I think Josh Emmett, Josh Emmett.
Josh Emmett.
Josh Emmett. Oh, dear.
Oh, please let that stick. Please, Josh Emmett. Oh, dear. That's wonderful. Come on. We've got it. Whiffen's down.
No.
Whiffen's down. TKO. Dr. Stoppage, Whiff. Come on.
Pointing at the centre of the octagon, like, I've done myself.
we got a title for the
Oh, excuse me,
mate.
Oh dear. He was never going to stand and trade with him, was he? And I think pointing at that centre of the octagon, it's like, look, lots of the comments on, you know, people saying words like masterclass are going, he ran for 5 rounds. He didn't. He just used great footwork for 5 rounds. And what you're not going to do against Josh Emmett is stand and brawl. Why would you do that? Because he's got dynamite in his hands. And I think he just fought the perfect fight.
Yeah, and also just look at the little fights in the fight. When he gets trapped against the cage, his defense is on point, and he finds a way to exit and get out. And that's the key. I mean, because if Emmett traps you there, we've seen it against so many high-level fighters. You're in deep trouble. If he either flurries and catches you, or he takes you down and ground and pounds you. I thought everything was spot on, and I think even though some people are classing it as underwhelming, I don't think they know the nuances of exactly how good that performance was. And again, in a smaller cage, you could not make that a worse setting for Lerone Murphy to fight Josh Emmett, and he still passed.
Yeah. Well, we'll get on to, you know, I guess a lot of his future can, you know, revolve around some of the stuff that's going to be happening UFC 314. We'll discuss that shortly. But there was another fighter that I wanted to talk about the thought of the weekend before we get on to talking 314. And that was Reese Mokaev. He's had his ups and downs in the UFC. He's had a rough ride as well with some of the.
He's only had downs, mate.
Like, exactly.
He's had his downs and downs in the UFC, but he was given a baptism of fire, right? So Chimaev, and I remember I was with I think it was his coach Rodney, who was the coach at the time when that fight got announced. I think that was who I was with, and I remember thinking, because I knew about Chimaev already. I'd already been over to Sweden, and I remember his manager said to me, "We've created a monster," and I didn't know what it meant. I met this young man, and he was eating chicken pizza, and they kept pointing, and I was like, he's the future. We had Gustavsson there. You had all the big names from All Stars around, and every single one to a man pointed at this guy. And he did what he did in his first fight, and then when they gave him Makaev, I was like, this is such a tough start. But for Reese to come in, two fight skid on his second run in the UFC, and to make a statement start to that fight. I mean, some fighters go in there and they edge the win just to get the green, get that tick on their record. He had no intention of doing that. He beat the brakes off that kid. And I don't think anyone deserves it more, because I think he has had a tough time, but he hasn't ever lost belief. His team have been fantastic around him. He fights for the same reasons he fought for when he started this sport, because he wanted it, he wanted the challenges, and now he fights for his family, his kids, and to get that finish. I mean, that was worse than Robbie Lawler's lip. I don't know if you got a good look at that, but so yeah, I was proud. And then I think the Irish economy's done well on the last 2 UFCs, right? So you got Shana Bannon getting the bonus, and then rightfully so on a card that wasn't great. Reese Mokaev was the shining light, I think.
Absolutely. Right, this weekend, UFC 314 goes down in Miami, and well, it's a great card. This, I think there's lots to talk about. I think we'll sort of stick to the main card, and I guess we'll start at the top, and we're seeing Volk versus Diego Lopez. What are your thoughts on that, Bri?
No, I love it for a start, but I want to ask you as well. What's your thoughts? Because again, the rumors are well, we know Tapori's gone up. We know the belts kind of come off. And what's your thoughts on the UFC playing it like that? You know, not allowing a fighter to take the belt up a division now. What do you think about that? Because I think that says a lot about this fight, and also it excites me about. Doesn't look like Makaev, but whoever, maybe Poirier, that Topuria will end up scrapping for his first lightweight one.
There's all sorts of takes on the Topuria situation. Like, I don't think anything has been clarified properly, really, unless you know otherwise. It all feels a bit strange, because whether he was having real issues with that weight, I don't know. But for me, it didn't feel like he'd done enough in that division to go, right, I'm going to now chase another title. You know, there's plenty of fights that could be had. They're exciting fights as well.
Yeah, agree.
And make no mistake, I think Ilia Topuria is one of, if not the most exciting fighter in the UFC at the moment. I think he's so exciting to watch. Yeah, I don't know. Does he go straight up and get a shot? I don't know. Has he done enough to warrant that? I'm not sure.
I don't think he does. I think the rumors are that he might get Poirier, which, if it is, it's a tough test to go up that way. And but it's exciting that he's earning his shot going that way. But I think you're right, that division, you got Evloev, you've got whoever, Volkanovski and Lopez, who are the winners of those. There's plenty. Even Holloway again at some point, because you can never deny Max Holloway if he stays in that weight class. But I like what the UFC have done. Well, as in, like, saying you cannot now carry belts. We're not looking for double champs. We want divisions to be active. We want contenders to rise. We want champions to defend. And as a fan, come on, and also as for watching the amount of fight cards the UFC put on now, we want to see belts contended. We're staring at the heavyweight division, asking what the hell is going on. And if any time it gets held up, it doesn't do us selfishly any favors, because we've got nothing to look forward to in that division. And then also the fighters. If this main event that's coming up this weekend had just been a fight for #1 contender, it would still mean something. It's still a fantastic fight, but now it's, the belts up there as well. It changes everything. Belts matter, and I think the UFC have kind of decided enough for this fun and games and people loving the picture as much as the fighters love it. Let's give the fans what they want. So, which is this fight, the Lopez versus Volkanovski. I love it. All right, trivia question. Who was the last commentator to call Lopez's last TKO loss? I'll give you a clue.
Cool.
He's on the MMA Fan Show podcast right now.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I want the story.
I called it in Russia. So they cut in Russia. It was 2018. And they'd flown this guy in. And again, this is one of the things you get sometimes the fight cards would be all Magomedovs and all the obs and all this stuff, and then they'd fly in a Brazilian for one of their favorite fighters, and this guy came in still swishing a mullet and looked totally out of place. He got all the Chechens and the Dagestanis and the Russians with their beards, and this very loose Brazilian came in, made weight, and we were all like, oh my god, we're going to send a body bag home to Brazil. But he came in and he dominated that fight. He beat the brakes off the kid, and then he just got caught in the guard with one which the referee stepped in on, and it was a fair stoppage. It wasn't one of these where you'd argue it. But I remember I saw him then, and he was always one of these fighters, because of his style, because he was so out of place. I remember him so well, just the way he was around the hotel, just what he was like, on the build up to the fight, how he was walking into hostile territory, then the performance he put on up until the point he lost. And now he popped back up, and I've watched him rise through, and he is one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah.
Easily one of my favorite fighters. Exciting everywhere, takes on all these challenges. But the problem I've got is he's going up against one of my other favorite fighters.
There's no bad guy in this fight, is there?
There's bad guy.
Like, you've got two of the nicest guys in the organisation fighting. And I mean, Volk must be thinking, as soon as he heard that Topuria was going up, he must have thought, this is an opportunity now for me to get the belt, because like, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Volk was ever going to beat Topuria if there was a rematch. I just think anything that was going to happen in that last fight. I'd be surprised if there was anything different. I think this is a much tighter fight. I don't know what sort of Volk's going to come in the Octagon. He always talks a great game, and we always want the best for him. And but Diego Lopez, he's on a tear and he's looking great. If you had to put your money on a fighter, where are you putting it, bro?
Oh, dude. You see, I'll be honest. Especially when it's, you know, heart and head fighting in this one. It's hard not to go with your heart because you want to kind of be loyal. But I think Lopez takes this one, and I just, you know, for Volk, I think it's an exceptional career. I think he's already talking about this being towards the end. You saw about the emotions after the first Makaev fight, and what he talked about openly about, you know, the mental health side of it, needing to fight, needing this, all this stuff going on. And then you look at his resume. It is the most ridiculous run of fights that he had, beating Max Holloway multiple times, Topuria, God, I forgot Makaev in there twice as well.
Ortega. What a fight
all
that
these
was.
Like, he has, that resume is far exceeds everything that Lopez has delivered so far. But there's this thing, and we see it so often in mixed martial arts. Maybe the cruelest of all is when, you know, time starts to take over and these contenders start moving up and through, and these guys that were invincible, that were as scary as you could imagine, almost unbeatable in your eyes in some respects. After that Holloway fight, that the clinic he put on in the rematch, you just feel like this is the guy. This is unexpectedly this guy who, you know, hasn't got the flashiest style, just is good everywhere, as tough as they come, as the heart of a lion.
It's just pure grit, isn't it? It's pure grit.
Grit, and now it's just at the point where you kind of think, if he's talking about it, this being towards the end, it worries me, because Lopez has got his teeth into the prime of his career, and he's dangerous everywhere, Lopez. There is not a position where you do not have to be switched on 100% of the time. And again, like Lerone with Emmett, Volkanovski's in there for 25 minutes with this guy. But if he could pull out, and that phrase, vintage Volkanovski performance,
that's what we all want.
I will be on my feet cheering as loud as anyone. But I just think Lopez, because of the time on his side and where he's at, I think he's the guy at the minute.
Do you know what I want in the ideal world, bro? Right?
Come here. Tell me what you want.
I want it to go 5 rounds, right?
Yeah.
I want it to be a really great fight. And I want Volk to get the decision, get the belt strapped around him, take the gloves off, put him in the octagon, and that'll be it.
Cry. Stop it.
Mate, that is what I want.
Stop it. What you're doing to me? Oh.
Then it just leaves it open for Lopez to you know, to fight for a, you know, in the next fight for the belt. And
then I hope Lopez chases him out of the cage. Volk falls over. There's a big fight in the crowd. We get what we all want. Yeah,
exactly.
We get what we all want.
Yeah, perfect.
Love it.
All right. Well, look, I don't know if this is the fight that the fans are more excited about. I know that, you know, lots of the sort of media has leaned on this, but our very own Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, he's going to be fighting Michael Chandler in the co-main. This is an exciting fight.
Mad to even say the sentence, Paddy the Baddy versus Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was announced, I was confused and excited in equal measure, I think, because you didn't know what was next for Chandler. Obviously, that performance Paddy put in against the one and only Bobby Green is the best he'd ever looked.
Did you think Paddy was going to win that?
No.
No, not at all.
No, I will tell you this, and yeah, I feel like it's not an uncommon thing. Me saying this is probably not an uncommon thought with MMA fans, particularly ones in the UK. There's a point when he signed to the UFC where a lot of fans were like, we'll wait for him to get found out. We'll wait. And the next fight came. The Jared Gordon one is the closest one, and you can argue it left and right about that. But show me a fighter that hasn't got through a career without a little bit of luck. John Jones versus Gustafsson, or even Reyes. You look at some of these other fights where you're kind of like, And Paddy he got it. So we don't talk about that, because now the tests have got tougher and tougher as he's gone. And Bobby Green, from me, with those hands, that was it for me. I was like, well, there's,
For me,
there's
the way that Bobby Green fights, right? I've said it many times, one of the best boxers in the UFC, and everybody says Paddy keeps his hands too low, his chin's too high, he's going to get found out. Put him away in a round. It's like
put him away in a round, didn't he, Gov? Didn't he, mate? Eh? Feel like I'm in a London taxi. Yeah, you see Paddy? Just put him away in a round. That's it. It's your stuff. Off you go, mate. Nice. I love it. I love it. But listen, I am lucky enough that I get to go to some of these gyms as well. And one of the ones I've been to a lot for Shamrock, for George Staines, is Next Gen. And it's a great gym. You look at the fighters coming through there from, Nathan Fletcher, Cullen, all these top talents.
Luke Riley.
Luke Riley, what a guy, what a performance he put. And literally, if he is not in the UFC next, I have no idea what the UFC are looking for, because that is it. That is it. But anyway, side note. But I go there and I watch and I see and I get to, I've been there a few times when he's been on the mats. I've never seen him spar. I've seen him roll or do some wrestling before, but to a man and woman in that gym, they taught, and from the coaches all the way through everybody, without a doubt, everybody knows he's the best. They see stuff day in, day out, and that's not just how good he is technically, but the work he puts in. And I love the fact he's embraced this UFC journey in a way that I didn't think he would. Because in Cage Warriors, there was a bit of bite about him. Sometimes it was trash talk. Sometimes, emotions became part of the thing. Look at the press conference with Chandler when they stare down. He's got this massive smile on their face. Even that little, I don't know if you saw it, the interview they did sort of side by side. They're having fun. And for me, that shows maturity. It shows where he is in his head and heart outside the cage. And I think he can do it. I think, the thing he's got against Chandler is he finds ways to win and Chandler finds ways to lose. You look at the record that Chandler's got, and the Oliveira fight, the Poirier fight, Gaethje, he had opportunities to win those fights. Oliveira in particular, you look at some of that. Chandler, for some reason, seems to find a way to lose. And it's not, I think it will come down to skills and game plan, but I think Paddy I think he's there. I think, and if he wins this one, that top 5, maybe one, 2 more fights, and you could be seeing that kid from Cage Warriors, the one with the funny hair that everybody sort of thought was just good at that level, fighting for a world title. And that's impressive. That's really impressive. Who have you got?
Well, I think Paddy's going to do it. I was watching an interview with him the other day, and he was saying, since the kids have come along, it's just changed his mindset completely. He said a lot of the time I relied on my talent, and I've now realised that, I've got to work hard with that as well. And I think he seems in a good place. Doesn't seem like the weight is fluctuating as wildly as it has done previously in between fights. I'm still blown away at the team talks at Team Chandler. We need to find a way to lose this, right? round 3, you're gonna nearly choke him out, but don't let it go, because we've got to lose this somehow.
Slip your neck out, go outside. Yeah, sorry.
But look, I think it's a fantastic fight for Paddy. I don't think it's 2 fights away from a belt. I think if he wins this, I think he becomes an even bigger star than he is already. Even like, a few years ago, being in the O2 when Paddy walked out, I've never heard noise like that in the O2. It was unbelievable. And he is a superstar. And I think that the people at UFC like superstars. And I think with a win, if he knocks him out or gets him out of there, he chokes him out early on, I think there'll be conversations going like, look,
Mokaev next. You think Mokaev next?
Could happen. It could happen.
No, listen, anything can happen. I think they've slow rolled Paddy in the perfect way, which they haven't done with some other fighters.
Well, there's another scouser that they absolutely steamrolled Darren Till through, and the wheels come off.
Yeah. No, he's doing all right. I don't know if you see Misfits next. He's got KSI or someone. I don't know who he's doing. But I think you're right. That's a great that's a great comparison. But I think he needs a couple more, and I think because again, I think they've done this for Chandler as well. This is the closest to Conor McGregor they can give it.
Absolutely.
Listen, mate, we've got another guy just across the sea.
Yeah.
He's a bit lippy, and certainly there's some comparisons there. But I would think Paddy would need another one or two just to show the UFC a little bit more. But I don't mind that. I think he's loving the journey. I think we missed him at UFC London. That whole event missed someone like that. But again, maybe UFC London doesn't deserve him anymore. Now he's not a fight night fighter. He is a, big numbered card pay-per-view fighter. And that's testament to the performances as well as the fan base, I think.
So you picking Paddy to get him out there?
I think he will.
How?
I think you got Chandler with the heavy hands. But I just think Paddy's, the confidence is there as well. Now he now believes. You remember that first fight in the UFC? I've forgotten who he got on his entry, but he got dropped. It looked like he was going to be out there in his first fight. Everybody, what we expected when he made that jump. He came back and he got the victory, and then he's worked his way up and through. So I think he can do it, and I actually want him to do it. I think it would be a hell of a thing for UK MMA. And we've just talked about Lone'er Kavanagh. Then you got Paddy coming up and through. We need it as a country. We really do. We need these fighters, these stars, to keep the eye on our scene as well.
And it is weird, just to go back to Lerone, because you look at someone like Paddy, and he's fast tracked to superstardom, irrelevant of his wins, because of his character and the way that they've marketed him, and that all the shit with Poirier, a few years back. Like, it's all very salacious and fun, and it gets all the forums chatting. And I think Lerone's just sort of ticked over in the background. I mean, that guy's backstory is way more wild than anything Paddy the Baddy's ever done. Yet it doesn't seem to be, marketed. Because it's, I don't even know. Every time we've had him on and he's mentioned stuff like that, I just think, Jesus, man, like that.
Different worlds.
Yeah.
But again, you got two very authentic people, and I wouldn't want either of them to be any different.
Yeah.
Paddy has got to that superstardom because he talks, because of the statements he makes, the look he's got. And Lerone is, he's worked his way up and through, but his drive, his motivation is because of that world behind him. And he doesn't talk about it because that's behind him. That if he stayed there, then, we don't know where he would be, or we could probably guess. But I think, those two staying authentic to who they are, whichever the route is, you've got two top world-class fighters coming out of the northwest of England again. And we look at that region in particular, big gyms up there from, Next Gen, Manchester Top Team, Northwest Fight Academy, Aspire, MMA Academy, all of that is one of the scariest regions. If you go out for a night and you just knock someone's pint over there, don't even risk it, even if they're that big, because most of them will wrap you up like a pretzel before you know it. So yeah, I love it.
I mean, let's while we're talking gyms, let's big up your mate's gym, because GB Top Team, they're on an absolute tear at the moment, aren't they? The recent Cage Warriors event before London as well, like, fantastic turnout there. What's the vibe like in there at the moment? It must be tip top. Am I right in saying Chanel Dyer's there?
Chanel Dyer's just got announced for Contenders, so she's going over to it. So I think, it's almost like a restaurant. The vibe of a restaurant has the same vibe and feel right through to the food of the chef. And Brad Pickett is at the top of that. And you've spent time with him. You've been around him. He is a kid. He is an absolute
I've never been in a restaurant and had the chef come out and pull my trousers and pants down, though.
You died in different places to me, mate. You must be up. That Fat Candy sponsorship must be doing you better than me, because my local calf, that's a regular thing, mate. That's it. But Brad for me is the reason. Obviously, great coaching team around him as well. They've got a boxing coach called Barry, who's phenomenal. Ash Grimshaw, who is a legend and one of the most, he doesn't cut corners as far as even sweetening any of his advice. He's done it all. He's been there. And then Brad at the top is it's something special. His mind, and we joke around because he is a prankster and he is, somebody who is always messing around and having a laugh. But he seriously, knows the sport. He was at the top of the game for so long, from cage raise, Bodog, WEC into the UFC. And now that is all coming down into his fighters. And you go to the gym and it's fun. Like the sparring is hard. You go there, it looks like hell. Looks like absolute hell, whether they're, cage wrestling, whether they're sparring, whether they're doing the jiu-jitsu, whether they're doing striking. It's the hardest rounds. You look at those mats and they are getting fuller and fuller of some of the biggest names that we know on the regional scene and domestic scene, that we will see on the international scene. And I think that is, down to the vibe he creates, the experience he's got. And now also you see people like Dan Hardy taking Veronica down there, because for me, Brad has got the biggest team of female fighters as well that are out there as professionals competing, whether it's Invicta, Combate Global, Cage Warriors, or any of the other shows. So I'm really proud of him. I remember he was really worried about opening this gym, and it's huge. It's a beautiful facility. But with that comes a lot of responsibility, and now to see it flying and flourishing is something special. And we, the fans, will reap the benefit of that, because the talent is gonna, get better and better. And then I think we're gonna get more stars. Chanel Dyer just being one of them. I think she is special. The way she strikes, the way she hits, fights, how she's moved from striking into mixed martial arts is so exciting to watch. And she's just one of many that I think we'll get in the future.
Fantastic.
You should go down there, mate. It's not far from you. You should pop down and just go and watch. Honestly, it's a great.
I'm glad you said watch, mate. I'm glad you said watch. I'm not lugging my old bones around there in a pair of tie shorts, mate. No, thank you.
Oh, mate.
Another fighter that's making his UFC debut, whether it's maybe too late in his career or not, is Pitbull, who's going to be fighting Yair Rodriguez. What are your thoughts on finally seeing Pitbull in the UFC get up?
I love it. But I think the UFC are going to make a statement with anyone that moves from PFL to the UFC. They're going to do what they've done to Patricio, and they're going to do what they've done to Aaron Pico. They're going to give him a hell of a tough fight. Yair Rodriguez is still dangerous. He, the losses you look at, they're against top competition. Skill set wise, he's exciting. He's, a phenomenal fighter. So this is the test. This is going to be it, and the UFC are going to make sure it's a test for anybody that makes that leap over from the other promotion, as they see it, to theirs. They're gonna give them a baptism of fire. But I think the Pitbull he'll want to make a statement. He absolutely believes he is one of the best, and he is going to find out. He's going to find that himself on Saturday night if he is. So it's gold, mate. Look at the cards. When you look at this card, there's fight nights. We always look forward to. There's always fights. Every weekend there's something, but there's some cards as they get announced that all fans kind of go, that's the one. What are you doing on that night? Yeah. What are you doing on that night? So this is one of them. And again, that's just one of many fights that are gold on this fight card.
I don't know if you heard it, Brian, but I think it was one of the first sort of media bits that Pitbull done, where he said that Yair was the only fighter that wanted it. Apparently, he was rumored to be fighting Arnold, but Arnold got injured, and so the fight was sort of banded around, and I think a lot of people didn't fancy it. And from what this is his words, he said, Yair was the only one that wanted it.
I don't know many people that would want it. Pitbull coming in, wanting to make a statement. I could believe it. I could certainly believe it. But there's also times where the UFC, they don't gift fights. They don't it's not like a regional show where you can throw a few options and the coaches can pick and choose as to what they think that their fighter would best be suited against. If the UFC want to make a fight, they'll make a fight. And if you say no to the fight, we will see that whatever other fighters in the weight class start getting nasty matchups, we know they're probably the ones that said no they said no to Pitbull. But he is perfect. I think he's perfect. Seasoned, he's up there, he's still dangerous. He still, could work his way to title contention. And Pitbull has he just got to take whatever it is, and that he has to put in the performance that will make the UFC, and more important, the UFC fans, because again, we watch, and I don't know about you, but I watch as much fighting as I can. It is my passion, my hobby. It's my favorite sport. So I watch the PFL, I watch the Cage Warriors fights, I watch, all the other ones, Octagon. I'm lucky enough to be there, but I've watched him in Bellator, and he's so good.
Yeah,
The way he beat AJ McKee, the grit he's got, the fight of the nights he put on in that promotion. He carried that promotion for a long time. He
massively.
really did. So, we'll find out as fans. Some people, this will be their first taste of him, and he's got to make sure that is something we enjoy for sure.
And I mean, a win over Yair, that puts him straight in the mix of things as well, wouldn't it?
I think that's the plan. I think, if he's come over with the belt on his shoulder from Bellator, there's no point working him up. I mean, they're going to be paying him handsomely, I'm sure of it. And they'll want value for it, and they will want these bombs they can drop into the divisions. It's very rare you can take somebody that's at the top of another promotion and put them straight in and legitimately say, win this and do it impressive. If he steamrolls, if he goes through him in a round, if he goes through him in 60 seconds and then gets on the mic and goes, listen, let's stop messing about. Almost Kayla Harrison's it, but with a devastating finish on top. You cannot deny that they have to consider it. And if they do, it's great. It's great for us. It's great for the promotion as well.
Do you think, just touching on Kayla just for a moment there, I've not sort of spoke about her on the show for a while now. Do you think her last performance humanized her a little bit in the UFC? And do you think there's champs out there now that are thinking, do you know what, I'm not sweating this as much as I might have been, from what I'd seen today?
Yeah, I think so. But I also, it is fighting, and if she can beat, it's who was it said? I think I've forgotten which fight. It might have been Ronda Rousey, but I've got to be able to beat you on my worst day.
Yeah.
And if she can still edge out those performances when she's not in that shape and form, and I've got to tell you, that weight cut is massive for her.
Yeah.
I mean, she makes it. She doesn't moan about it. She doesn't talk about it. But you look at the size of her in the PFL, and you look at the walk around weight, and again, you get lots more insight into fighters with social media, with all the stuff that they do on promo. She's huge. She trains with Dakota Decheva, and you see them side by side, and Kayla is massive, absolutely massive. So I think the longer she has to make those weight cuts to get to, where she wants to be, then that's other fighters are going to start enjoying it a bit more, and maybe think, there's a way we can win this. She's not as unbeatable as perceived, but I still think she's great. And I think she didn't have a great performance, but she's still got that win.
I want to discuss Bryce Mitchell versus Jean Silva. I mean,
can we get Pip for this? Can we phone him?
I mean,
I've never seen a man so happy watching another man get knocked out. It's Josh Emmett destroying to a quivering state Bryce Mitchell. But yeah, go on, carry on.
I mean, it's so strange, Bryce Mitchell, isn't it? It's like he's clearly unwell, and his mindset is warped by God knows what, and he said the dumbest shit ever, and he hasn't necessarily been reprimanded for it. He's been allowed, because I think I want to ask you about this before we get into the fight, because we've seen behavior from the likes of Conor, and
you couldn't have asked me if I want to go fishing with Hitler for a minute. Honestly,
well, I think people got Hitler wrong, mate. Like, fucking hell, what a
how do you? I
crazy
said
man.
that I put this on Twitter. I was like, how do you? Because he was talking about like nice day fishing. How do you have like the perfect scene for fishing where you got the birds tweeting, you just caught your lifetime fish, you've broken the record, your friends are around you, and then you just sit there and think, what will make this better? Hitler would be great. If that would really top this off, if he could take the picture of me with this carp, that would be fantastic. But yeah, mate, it's mad.
I mean, your background as well was stand-up comedy. You must look at Bryce Mitchell and just think there's material for days there.
Yeah, it's gold. It's just it is a gift. But again, it's a dark side to it, because what's happened? What's happened to him? And I think he's very open about and there's layers we can go into this, but even like his socioeconomic status and where he's come from in the background, and like still living in a trailer that he's built himself and all this stuff. But then, you know, there's it's just hard to hear and hard to listen to. And I think, you know, the UFC have done what they believe is the best way to maybe punish him, which is give him John Silver. But I think a lot of people were hoping that there would be sterner, you know, or any repercussions for what he was saying, or even the angle of what he's saying.
And you know, that specific podcast episode where he spatted all of that shit, probably got Bryce Mitchell a bigger audience than he's ever had for anything he's ever done. And I wonder if, you know, the UFC are obviously wise to that and go, right, okay, this guy's now super famous for all the wrong reasons. You know, are people going to tune in to watch him get a beating? But he still has, yeah, of course. But weirdly, you know, you look at the, you know, the social media posts from like the UFC, and he's got fans, and like, you know, there's people out there that still subscribe to, you know, Bryce Mitchell as a human being, which is quite surreal, you know, with the nature of what he said. Do you think the UFC will ever be in a position where they can shut down someone for what they're saying? Because, you know, if you shut down Bryce Mitchell, you shut down Conor McGregor, you know, you shut down Sean Strickland. And, you know, we've seen all of these people say and do vulgar shit. And, you know, we saw Dana say, you know, when Conor threw the dolly through the coach, that's it, he's going to prison, he's blah, blah, blah. And then 2 months later, they're showcasing that on the media roll for his next fight. And it's, you know, you can only say freedom of speech so much, but you also have to realize that these are role models for kids and, you know, and adults as well. And there's got to be a cutoff point, surely, when you're saying that, you know, Hitler seemed like a good guy. Like, surely there's got to be some kind of repercussions there. Fucking hell.
It gets funnier every time you say it. Oh my God. But you see, it's difficult because I think the UFC have got the best shield in the world, which is that freedom of speech thing. And also, you know, especially with what the alignment with Trump and with Dana and all the way up to the elections, just how that worked and how there is, you know, this push against the left, lean to the right stuff going on all across America. I think they don't have to deal with it any other way than Dana has said, and that's the sad truth. I think as a business, they're, you know, other if it was Nike, then they would have cut his sponsorship. They would have done something like that. But for the UFC, you know, these are independent contractors. They're not employees. They're independent contractors, and he can say, you know, and stand by the thing of the freedom of speech, and also the fact is, you know, tune if you don't like him, he's going to have a fight. He's going to fight Jean-Michel. If you don't like him, and again, it's perfect for the UFC. Tune in and watch this guy, the worst guy we could give him, the guy that's been giving him all the jip online to say that I want to be the one to hand out some justice. We're going to make that fight. There you go. That's us dealing with it. So me and you can pick about what's right, what's wrong, business wise, you know, even socially, what's acceptable, or all that. But the fact of the matter is, it's, you know, the UFC, I think Dana has very cleverly handled it like the promoter he is, and this is their justice, John. And I think John, you know, Silva, I think he destroys him as well. I think he's very, very good. I know Shamrock was out and trained at Fighting Nerds, and he trained with a lot of the guys out there, and he said John Silva. Yeah, he trained.
How was that?
He loved it. He loved it. He said the vibe was fantastic. The level is really high. The coaching's really good, really solid, you know, structured training. And then he said on top of that, he got to get a little feel with most of the bigger guys, not the light heavyweights or anything like that, but, you know, bigger names. And he said John Silva was the most talented, as in like naturally talented, toughest rolls, toughest spars. So yeah, I think this is a tough fight for Bryce Mitchell, and maybe that's the justice. Whether we need to give Pip one more big knockout, maybe we should. He just needs another reel to watch.
Yeah.
That's all he needs.
Absolutely.
So again, all that stuff around what he says and what he does and the platform and how he uses it, it's it's so hard to argue because the UFC, they're a promotion, they're a business, and I think they've got that ability to divert it into what will happen, which is two men stepping into a cage, and one of them being the guy that most people, thank God, most people do not agree with.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I right? I mean, you may have heard otherwise, but I've heard that Dustin Poirier is going to be one on the commentary team.
He's on the desk. He's the Dim Thomas. Yeah, he's doing
Wow.
that. So he will be the guy they jump to in between rounds. And again, great, absolutely love it. I think I like the way he talks about fights. I like his passion for it, his experience all the way through. I mean, he was one of the first reality shows. I don't know if you remember this. This was years ago, and it's still available, I think. Maybe on Netflix or maybe even on YouTube now, but they did they followed the fight, like following fighters through their amateur career into pro, and one of the guys was Poirier. And you watch that back and you see how much he wants it. You see his life. You see him fighting in sports halls from there. He has been in the game. He is one of the, you can put him up there with the Robbie Lawlers. You can put him up there with your Frankie Edgars and people like that. He is an OG. And I think
And the fans love him.
and they love him. He's legit. He's authentic. And he's proven. So I think it's great. And he will be doing what the Din Thomas role will be. So in between, Anik will throw to him for some insights, some stuff. And that's great to see the UFC doing that ahead of him retiring. Setting him up for what could be his future. And I think he'll be great on it. I think he looks good. I love his story. I love the way he fights. I think it's a great move.
Fantastic. Is there any other fights that you wanted to touch on that are going down this weekend?
What else have we got? We got no, I think that's it. I've got them here.
I know that
Jim Miller,
Chase
Hooper. That is again. How do you bet against Jim Miller? And I know he's coming off that Bobby Green loss, but he is just a phenomenal, mixed martial artist. And you talk about role models. We're jumping from Bryce Mitchell to Jim Miller, and that's what it's about. I mean, the problem is the splash that's made by somebody like Bryce Mitchell seems to catch everybody a bit more than the consistent, positivity that someone like Jim Miller brings throughout his career.
There's a difference there, Brian. It's like what Bryce Mitchell's saying and doing at the moment is just fashionable in the MMA form for 5 minutes. What Jim Miller's not fashionable is stylish, and that style will outlive the fashion every time, mate.
And if two guys know about style, mate, right?
Hey, look at us, mate.
Look at us too.
I don't know. I brushed me over toffee apple this morning, Brian.
But I love it. Chase Hooper as well. Another cool character, and it's another one where Jim Miller's been the gatekeeper, and he doesn't mind that role. Look at the numbers he's totting up there, and if he can get another win, that puts him one closer to 40 wins. And God knows how many in the UFC. So I like that one. Just shout out to Jim Miller. Just, old dog still doing it well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's coming up in Octagon?
Not next week, 26th of April, we have got Jack Cartwright, former bantamweight champion in Cage Warriors. He's fighting Igor
And
Severin.
one of the nicest guys ever.
One of the nicest guys ever, with one of the nastiest right and left hands you'll ever meet in the cage. He's fighting Igor Severino. Do you remember the guy that bit someone in the UFC? He's fighting him for the bantamweight title. On top of that, we've got Tip Sport Game Changer tournament. We've got the final opening rounds of that, and that is the €1 million tournament we do every year. So there's €1 million at stake. We bring together 16 fighters from a weight class. This year it's middleweights, and we've got Mick Stanton in that. He's already won his fight, former two-time Cage Warriors champion, and we've got the other fights on that card. So we've got Krzysztof Jotko. He's on that card taking on Jon Serdu. Who else have we got? Erhan Cartel versus Vlasto Chepo. We've got Krzysztofic versus Homburger. Really top level European middleweights going toe to toe for their chance for €1 million. And then we've got a stadium again in June, my friend, back in Prague. So big things. Check it out. I mean, if you like fighting, why not have a little look at stuff that's going on at a reasonable hour? You can watch that from like 5 o'clock in the UK rather than 3 a.m. in the morning. And we've got big UK fighters as well. Shamrock's part of our promotion, Jack Cartwright, George Staines, and many more. So yeah, check it out.
And if they do want to watch it, where do you watch it?
Octagon.tv. It's a pay-per-view up there, so it's less than €10 for the card. And you can watch it all around the world on there, my friend.
Wonderful. Bryan, thanks so much for jumping in today, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure having a catch up.
Listen, I just got one request. I can just, it's been
here we
bugging me
go.
the whole time. Like just
Go
over
on.
your left shoulder, there's a picture of Pip. Yeah. Well, I'm just hoping one day I can earn a spot on the wall of shame as well.
Look, we
So,
told you, mate. You've come on today. You put in a good performance, mate. Like, I'll take it back to the boys and we'll have a little look. And
in the other group. And
if all goes well, mate, I'll get you up on the wall.
Appreciate you. All right. Big love, my man.
Thanks, Bryan.